obviously, all of you here tonight know that it's without like-minded people like yourselves that unite together that none of these things can ever happen. But sometimes you have to have someone in the front line, in the firing line, and as a lot of you may know, I'm often in the firing line, often spoken badly about in the press because I'm very outspoken and disturb a lot of people's thought processes in speaking the truth. But what I have to say is, if you, and I'm sort of, preaching to the converted, but for those who carry on the message, when I lost my leg, it was 2 years after I'd already been involved in the landmine campaign, but most people thought I got involved in landmines because I lost my leg. My mother lost her leg in the same place as me, below knee, when she was 25, and they replaced it, which is usually the worst thing for rehabilitation. And then she died when she was 47, which is only 7 years away from my age of 40 now, which is very, very young. And because my mother left when I was 9 years old and I got close to her for a couple of weeks before she died, I saw a lot of abuse as a child. And I think it instilled something in me to want to protect children, animals with no voice, and anyone that was at risk of being abused and unable to stick up for themselves. And that can make you quite a controversial figure. But luckily, the intelligent people in the world can see past all that rubbish and know that you're always going to be controversial when you're speaking out. Monuments were never built for the critics, but they were always built for the criticised. And if you remember that, whenever you're feeling like you're going insane, just pushing through, that should give you some strength to always push through and always speak the truth, even though so many people don't want to hear it, because eventually it always comes out. The landmine campaign, to actually get a mine ban treaty in place with a group of like-minded people, took many years, and everybody said that we were insane and it would never ever happen. How can you go up against the law lords and the weaponry industry? But eventually we now have no exports of landmines in the world. People use them internally. We have 153 countries that have signed the mine ban treaty, and now we're working on the cluster bombs. But it's something that's happening naturally because we've been pushing and it's becoming much easier. And I learned about becoming vegan purely for health. I didn't have any understanding for the animals when I lost my leg. It was purely go on a vegan diet, a raw vegan diet, you'll heal yourself. They kept chopping my leg off more and more. I didn't want them to take my knee. My girlfriend had cured herself of breast cancer. She said, go vegan. I discharged myself from the hospital, went to Hippocrates in West Palm Beach 16 years ago, learned about the vegan diet, and it healed me very, very quickly. I then wrote a booklet on it, put that out all over England, and that was me in 1994 on a Good Morning television show in England, trying to push across the vegan diet. And there was a doctor on at the time who's still on the same show called Dr. Hilary Jones, who off the camera said, what you're saying is absolutely correct, but I have to be devil's advocate and argue with you on television about the benefits of wheatgrass and chlorophyll and all these kinds of things. And I said, well, why? Why can't you just say on live television that this is the way? And they said, oh, we've got so many sponsors, and there are people, there's a lot of money in this industry. And that's when it opened my eyes to start realising that sometimes you have to work close with the enemy. So when I got involved in the Dog Cat campaign, they'd been trying for 9 years and they just could not get it through the European Parliament. Now I have a very simple mind and a natural strategy to everything. And if I see a problem, I just know exactly what the solution is. I don't know why. It's very simple. It's probably because I was never educated. I only learned chemistry and biology last year. I left school when I was a teenager, and I don't see any bureaucracy at all in my mind. I just see this is the solution, it's right there, what's the problem? So I thought I would align myself and the members of our team with the fur lobbyists in the European Parliament. And the way that we managed to do that was I wanted to stop the import and export of dog and cat fur, and lots of the animal charities were saying, no, it has to be all fur, it has to be this, it has to be that. And I said, no, you can't do that. You have to get dog and cat fur first, and that is the first major step, because then you're dealing with all of China and all of the fur industry. Of course, once I get dog and cat, I'm going to go for fox, mink, sable and everything else, but you don't tell the lobbyists that. So what I did was convince them to come on our side, because the dog and cat fur being known on Burberry as raccoon dog and on so many companies that had no idea that they had these animals around their necks on the Paris catwalk. They aligned with us and it managed with some legislation to get the dog and cat fur bill pushed through. Now we've got that through, of course we're working on, you know, every single type of animal and fur that there is. But sometimes you have to take a step back and look at exactly what you want to do and do it each step at a time. Otherwise you can spend 10 or 20 years never finally reaching where you want to go, because you're so upset and you're so passionate and you're so understandably angry about how inhumane and it is for the animals. So what I'm doing now is, because I'm a solution problem solving person, in many bills and things that I've passed, I do most of my work behind the scenes. I'm not very sort of, unless I give a 3-month warning to a company that we're going to expose you, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, then I don't need to come out, because usually they know the history of 20 years and they say, okay, we better listen and we better do it tomorrow, otherwise it's going to be out there. So what I tend to do is try and educate in a way that will resolve the problem for them. So what I'm trying to do now is convert the carnivores, and I've been developing a range of food that will become worldwide that's vegan, so that people About 5 years ago I developed a range of vegan food that replicated a fast food chain, and I presented it to them because, again, I wanted to work with what we call the enemy at the time. And if I replicated what they had, there was no need for them to kill animals to feed everybody. So I did this, and it worked perfectly, and it was nutritionally balanced, because I then had studied nutrition and chemistry and biology by then. And they were blown away by it. They couldn't believe it, and they wanted to put it everywhere. Unfortunately, because of what was going on in my personal life at the time, the whole thing had to be put on hold for 2 years because of all the negativity around. It wasn't launched. But we will be launching towards the end of this year, beginning of next year. It will be available in all the service industry. Every restaurant that's tried it wants to take it on. Then it will be in all the retail shops, and then it will become the biggest fast food vegan chain in the world. I'm funding this myself because I don't want any banks or anyone else to take any of the ethics away or put any pressure on, bringing down anything about it ethically or taste or anything. So that's my plan. Is basically, it's about solutions. If I want to convert carnivores, I'm not really interested in vegans, to be honest, because you're there. I've got nothing else to say to you. Yeah.